Hello, and thank you for joining us at Wake Up and Live with the Arts. My guest for this segment is someone, as they say in the business, who needs no introduction except for his name, Peter Lawson Jones. And you are knowing him these days from being a burgeoning actor on camera, on stage, on commercials, all over the damn place. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so Peter, welcome back to Wake Up and Live with the Arts. It's been a minute since you've been on this show, and you've been busy. Tell us.
Well, I've been doing a thing or two.
A thing or two.
Yeah, perhaps.
Now, you just finished a wonderful production of rave reviews out at North Shore Cultural Center.
Cultural Center, correct.
With Terrence Spivey. Was he the director?
Yeah, Terrence Spivey directed me in this particular piece.
Which was?
We did, what's a one-man show? It's really August Wilson's autobiographical play called How I Learned What I Learned. Yes. And we performed that as a stage reading, although we gave the audience more than somebody sitting behind a stand. There was a lot of blocking and movement, and that's the way Terrence likes to do it. That's the way I like to do it, and we had a great crowd.
In the actor studio too. We do it with the blocking, but now we're into one-act plays where we are completely off book. But we just did a reading back, and oh Lord, time has passed, a little while ago, and it was one of the more standard readings where we were at music stands. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but ordinarily now we're doing one act. So,
well, this was exciting because it was Terrence's really artistic debut. There had been a community meeting that allowed him to be introduced to residents in Euclid and that northeastern segment of Cuyahoga County. But this was the first production that he was involved in.
Yes.
And so we were very excited to have drawn a great crowd, a very diverse crowd, and the woman who runs Shore Cultural Center noted, well, Chris Cipriani does marketing, but mentioned to Terrence that there were a lot of people there Saturday night that had never darkened the doorway before at Shore Cultural Center. So I think you can expect to see some extraordinary things at Shore Cultural Center. Having started by hiring Terrence, I think some wonderful things are in store for that particular venue, and I think it's going to draw a good support. Yeah. Absolutely.
And we had Terrence on one of our last shows and talking about his new duties out there. In fact, we're going to see James, our videographer, and Lester, our videographers, don't even know it yet, but I'm in touch with Terrence to see if we can do a remote out there to introduce the
Well, that would be great. And to introduce Shore Cultural Center to the rest of Northeast Ohio. But he has a slogan. It's going down at the shore. And so it has started, starting last Saturday, going down at the shore.
Good enough. So now that's only been one project that keeps you busy. What else have you been up to?
Well, in the last 9 months, it's been extremely busy, both from the perspective of an actor and that from the perspective of a playwright. Last summer, I had the great honor and privilege of being a co-lead in Inherit the Wind at Overland Summer Theater Festival.
Sure, yeah.
We also had a night that Karamu performed The Colored Museum at Gardner Auditorium at the Cleveland Museum of Art last June. I've also been performing in a play Incognegro, which was an adaptation from a very popular graphic novel by the same name, and the adaptation was done by a local playwright, director, and actor who's well-known, Eric Schmiedel.
Eric, yes.
So, matter of fact, I would suggest that you bring Eric on the show if you haven't had him on already to talk about Incognegro and some of the other projects he's working on. Last fall, I was in a film, had a principal role in a film called Legacy, which was a police drama starring Justin Chatwin and Peter Stormare, who's probably best known from a scene in Fargo where he placed Steve Buscemi into a wood chopper.
Oh, that's right. Now I got you.
And then I've done a couple of stage readings, one a Mary Weems piece, here at Karamu.
Our guest coming up
Oh, great,
in April.
great.
Yes.
And then a kind of reprise, but in a different role, Bourbon at the Border, which we did a stage reading of that at the Maltz Museum, again under Terrence Spivey's direction.
And you performed in that full production.
That was my first show. I played the role of Tyrone Washington. It was my first foray back onto the stage in 28 years. And this was back 9 years ago.
Because you've been busy, and a lot of people still remember you as county commissioner.
That's true.
Local and somewhat national politics, your influence.
Well, I was involved. I've been involved in the local level, the state level, and to some extent on the national level. And of course, most recently, I'm in a commercial, again, an on-camera talent in a commercial in which I'm prominently featured. National Kia commercial starring LeBron James that started airing about a week and a half ago, and it's an extraordinary commercial. When you look at it, you think you're watching a film, because they hired one of the best commercial directors in the entire world, a guy named Johnny Green out of Manchester, England. And he was phenomenal to work with, very creative, did a great job. And I guess the other thing that's pretty exciting for me right now is that I've been cast in a speaking role as the judge in White Boy Rick, which stars Matthew McConaughey, Jennifer Jason Leigh, both Academy Award winners, Bruce Dern, and Piper Laurie.
Now they are veterans.
Absolutely, and for those who are of the millennial set who watched the TV show Atlanta, which won the Emmy for the best comedy show. It's a Donald Glover production.
I know
there's a character on there whose name is Paperboy. He's the rapper, and he's also in White Boy Rick. And I tell you, I had an absolutely surreal moment a couple of weeks ago when they invited me to the table read, and I was told that we'll have a couple of stars here. And next thing I know, I'm sitting across from Matthew McConaughey and 2 seats away from Jennifer Jason Leigh and Paperboy. And so it was, I kind of, at that moment, I said, my God, I couldn't have imagined 10 years ago, when I wasn't even thinking about acting, frankly, that I would find myself in a room, again, with a couple of Academy Award winners, and Matthew McConaughey might, probably one of the most bankable names in Hollywood these days.
And where did you do this? What was the location?
The table read was on 30th and Chester.
Here in town.
Here in town, where that's the headquarters for this particular film.
Okay. And for those of you who may be rookies or aspiring actors, I'm going to get Peter to explain what a table read is. And this is the process that plays and movies go through as perhaps the beginning step when the cast is first assembled completely, or mostly completely, and you sit around a table.
And that's a good point, because there's a distinction. For example, in plays, when you have your table read, which is the first time all the actors get together and read through the entire script, you generally have everybody in the cast. For a movie table read, where you might have 50 or 60 speaking roles in a movie, a number of us who were invited to participate in the table read read 5 or 6 different roles. That's what I did. One of the roles I read was, of course, the role I had auditioned for, that of the judge, and the role in which I've been cast. But I read 5 or 6 other roles, because otherwise I don't know where you'd find a table large enough, other than at the United Nations, to have accommodated all the actors who have speaking roles in the film.
Okay, so when does that go into
It's in production now.
Okay, so you will be shooting?
I shoot April 1st.
Okay, April Fool's Day. What do you
So I hope I'm not, I hope there's not a cruel joke that's being played on me. I don't want to show up and there's nobody there.
No, I'm more concerned about making sure your scene isn't cut. 'Cause, you know, Hollywood is good.
Well, you know what a friend of mine said to me?
What?
In a procedural drama, they never cut out the judge, because somebody has to sentence this character, and it can only be the judge. And it's also a very dramatic scene in the movie. So I'm not worried in this instance about being left on the editor's cutting room floor.
That's a standard statement in the industry. And our videographer, James McGilvray, he knows a little bit about that, because he's been active in film and commercial around town. Yes, I can say town. Okay. And you have this is your coming up project. And now you brought a piece because you're going to perform for us for a couple of minutes.
Sure.
And tell us about the piece you're going to do.
Well, the other thing that's been exciting for me over the last few months, I completed in October 2015 my second play, full-length political drama, The Bloodless Jungle.
Okay, yes.
And The Bloodless Jungle had a successful run at Ensemble Theater, where we sold out 8 out of the 12 nights. And we've also had stage readings out of town at the Kennedy Center,
Yes.
in Harlem, and recently at the Dallas Convention Center.
Okay.
And I will be submitting the play for a stage reading at the National Black Theater Festival in Winston-Salem.
And when is that?
That is in July.
July of this year?
Yes, July of this year.
I haven't
It's a
been.
biennial gathering. It'll be my
Yeah.
first time going.
I still hope, well, I hope I can make it down there.
Well, come on this time.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's been a long time since I've been, and it is a wonderful experience. The National Black Theater Festival is biennial.
Biennial.
Every other year, and it's down in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and every actor of color is there. I mean, I have shaken hands with Diary of shoot, what, Miss Jane Pittman.
Cicely Tyson,
Cicely Tyson.
who I worked with when I was in Alex Cross. She and I
Yes.
were in the same scene together, and I first met Cicely Tyson when I was in college back in the 70s.
Wow.
She came, paid a visit to Harvard University. She was on campus. I think it was at the time she was probably doing the Diary of Miss Jane Pittman.
And I walked Ossie Davis across the street to his wife. Oh man, wasn't that something? I squired him.
We might have really had a story had his wife not been there.
Well, she was. And his wife is, Lord, what's
The
wrong
late,
with her?
great Ruby Dee.
Ruby Dee, she passed away lately.
She passed away several years ago. Yes.
Well, now how did I miss that? I know he's been gone.
Yes, she passed away several years ago.
Okay, well, and her photo or her likeness is on
There's a
the
mural.
side of the building.
There's a mural that's painted on
which
the
is
side of
where
Carolyn's
we are
Way.
now at the oldest ongoing national African, well, primarily.
Multicultural theater.
Yeah, multicultural theater in the United States, continuing in its performance. So tell us, you're reading a scene from
Yeah, I'm going to read a
Bloodless
scene
Jungle?
from The Bloodless Jungle. In this particular scene, the two characters are Cyrus Templeton III, who's an attorney, and he's the campaign manager and best friend of the protagonist. And Cyrus had been engaged in a relationship with a reporter, Laura Larkin. And Miss Larkin's coverage of the protagonist, Ethan St. John, during his campaign for Congress has greatly upset Cyrus and has caused a rupture, to say the very least, a schism in the relationship between Cy and Laura. So I'm going to be doing both characters, and hopefully you'll be able to know when I'm shifting from one to the other.
Oh, darling, I have no doubt.
And I'm not going to be using a high-pitched voice
Well, no, you're
to
not
do,
gonna talk like
no, I'm not going to talk like that at all.
Okay, so now, will you be standing or seated as you
Oh,
are?
I can be seated. Let me
If you're
stay seated.
comfortable?
Yeah, it's no
Okay,
problem.
so whenever you're ready.
Okay. So to start off this is a part of the scene towards the end of the play. And Cyrus is alone in the campaign headquarters. Ethan St. John, the protagonist, the candidate for Congress, Cy's best friend, has just left the room to do a radio. The scene starts off with a knock on the door.
Knock, knock, knock.
And Cy answers. Yes, who is it? Laura. It's me, Cy. Well, hi. Ethan can't speak with you right now. He's doing a radio interview. I'm not here to see him. I was looking for you, and I thought I might find you here. Yet more proof that you're a crackerjack reporter. Well, may I come in? Sure, but I've got to go in a few minutes. I hate to state the obvious, but we haven't seen each other in 5 days, and you haven't returned any of my 10 calls, texts, and emails. I think have exhibited remarkable restraint in limiting myself to 2 forms of communication per day. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. It's just that between the law firm and the campaign, I've been really busy. And Cy, you haven't been so busy that you couldn't respond to a damn text. You're completely right. I haven't been that busy. So, So what is it you want? What is it Well, for starters, I'd like to know why, after 3 years of what I thought was a pretty good relationship, you suddenly decided to play a juvenile game of hide and seek with me. Before I respond, I'd like to know if this conversation is on or off the record. Don't insult me like that, Si. I've never taken advantage of our relationship to get a story. No, you haven't. But excuse me if I think you have done some things that would make a person question your ethics. What things? Because of the legitimate stories I've been writing on the state senator's support of a convicted rapist who may very well have committed another sexual assault? Ethan's your best friend. I get that. I respect that. He is a very smart man and a very good public servant. But his friendship with J.J. Styles raises genuine issues about his judgment. Yes, our coverage has been hard-hitting, but it's been completely fair and ethical. That's exactly why I'm, what did you call it, playing this juvenile game of hide and seek? Because you've actually convinced yourself that what your paper and you have been doing is perfectly okay. Your reporting on this story may not be criminal, but don't call it fair and ethical. Christ, if you haven't noticed, I'm a reporter, Si. I work for a newspaper. I report to an editor. He gives me assignments and I take them. I follow leads to wherever they take me. Maybe you think I should just decline those assignments that I don't agree with, or just ignore leads that lead to uncomfortable places. Oh, heaven forbid you do that. I mean, the Pulitzer's at stake. You're not playing fair, Si. You're an attorney. I bet you don't believe in the rectitude of every client who hires you over at the firm, yet I'm not telling you that you're morally bankrupt. You're absolutely right. But there's a difference. I'm not a member of the Fourth Estate. I'm not part of the media. I don't have the power in the guise of an objective third-party observer to influence and shape public opinion. Call me juvenile, but shouldn't that kind of power be exercised within some ethical bounds? Even in the courtroom, you can't admit evidence that where its prejudicial value outweighs its probative value in determining the truth. This philosophical discussion is all very interesting, Si, but what exactly have I reported that's been unethical? Well, how about you're implying that Ethan made a mistake by helping JJ find a job or letting him put up campaign yard signs, and then going on a fishing expedition by having the audacity to ask Ethan if he had met with the alleged victim of the crime and ask her to drop the charges against JJ? You're kidding me. I simply pointed out facts. I didn't help JJ find a job. The paper didn't sign him up to volunteer on the campaign. Ethan did that all by himself. And as for his approaching the victim, I was merely following a tip. I couldn't confirm that any meeting took place, so I didn't write about it. What exactly have I done wrong but my job? That's exactly the point. I don't think you've done your job. My dad used to come to all my football games. Didn't matter how many people were in the stands, I could always distinguish his voice. He was a fairly reserved man. But once the official had made too many bad calls for him to abide, my dad would yell out, "There's a pretty good game going on, ref. Too bad you're missing it." You see, your newspaper and you are missing not just a pretty good game, but a pretty important one that's going on out there. War is raging on several continents. The gap between the rich and poor in our country is growing. Police-community relations have never been more volatile. And two candidates with distinctly different perspectives on it all are competing right here in our community for the privilege to go to the nation's capital and at least make an earnest effort to be part of the solution to this very formidable array of challenges. I admit, he is my closest friend. But one of the candidates is clearly, in every way that matters, the superior choice. But your paper, and you, by doing its bidding, have managed to divert the public's attention to the freak show that's rolled into town instead of focusing their attention on the issues that really matter. So no, I don't think that you've done your job. You despise me. No, I don't. No, you detest me. You detest my profession, what I do. All I've done is try to be a good reporter. But to you, I've become some kind of amoral monster. You're a harsh judge, Cyrus. After all the time we've spent together, I would have thought, goodbye. Goodbye, Laura.
Now, the central character is Ethan.
Is Ethan St. John.
And he has an ethical conflict.
Absolutely.
What is the conflict?
In brief,
Yes.
Ethan, when we first meet him, we meet him at his victory party, his election night party when he's been elected to state senate. We meet his wife. We meet Cyrus, his best friend. They became buddies, playing football against each other in high school, end up rooming together and playing football in college. And then at the very end of the scene, a gentleman comes in that Ethan hasn't seen in a decade. It's his best friend from high school. And the reason he hasn't seen this best friend, JJ, is because JJ just completed doing a 10-year bid or sentence, completing a 10-year sentence in prison for having participated in a gang rape.
Right.
Ethan helps JJ get back on his feet, secure a job. Ethan is encouraged to, solicited to run for Congress. He agrees to do so. It looks like he's poised to win. He's ahead in the polls when JJ gets arrested upon suspicion of having committed another sexual assault.
Right. Okay.
So pressure is brought to bear on Ethan by his high-priced campaign consultant to distance himself from JJ, focus on the campaign. The media is trying to tie Ethan and JJ together, and I think there's a little bit of dialogue in the play, tying them together like two Siamese twins on a Mississippi chain gang. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on one's perspective, Ethan becomes convinced that JJ did not commit the crime. So he's faced with that moral challenge and dilemma. Does he jettison his friend and focus on winning the campaign, or does he take all of the heat that's coming from standing by JJ, but put at risk getting elected to Congress?
And this, my friends, reflects the state of the United States today, and yesterday, and the day before.
As long as there's politics, elected officials would be faced with this kind of challenge.
Yes, and
I faced it in 22 years as an elected official myself.
And toward the end, where there was a lot of difficulty, we were all so proud that you escaped any notoriety, any mention, anything connected with the commissioner's issue back then. I won't go into detail, but
well, again, like I do with so many things, I credit my parents. They raised me a certain way, and so I'm no angel, but I certainly, and I'm proud of the integrity that they instilled in me.
And it shows.
Well, thank you.
It shows. And way back when, one of the times that Peter and I first started getting involved, not that way, he founded the Fatherhood Initiative for the state of Ohio. And so he's been dedicated as a dad, and he has exemplified this not only with dads around the country and state, but with his own kids. We've got Ryan, we've got Leah, and we've got
Evan.
Evan's a senior now.
Evan's a junior. Don't rush it. I don't want to be an empty nester quite yet.
Well, I moved in with
There's plenty of room.
Okay.
Can you cook?
Yes.
Well, Lisa would appreciate that assistance.
And Lisa is his beautiful, beautiful wife.
She is that, and so much more.
All of his activities. So we want to thank you for stopping by.
Well, I've had fun. I always do.
Of course, and we look forward to another production of
And that's what I wanted to,
Jungle.
that's absolutely, I did want to share that in closing, that a local agency has pledged $5,000 towards me remounting the play.
Okay.
For me to do it the way I want, I'd like to raise about 10 grand. And I think I really don't have any doubt. A total of, I'd like to have a budget of at least 12 grand.
Okay.
Because then the actors would be properly compensated, the director, we could rent out the appropriate venue, and we could have a first-class production. So I'm very excited about that, and we're hoping to make that happen sometime this fall.
Okay, well, keep me posted.
You know I will.
Any way that the Actors Studio can help support you. I always
We'll
say,
figure it out.
Yeah, always say, even if only in the background.
That's right.
If we can help you get to
Well, you're always
where you
wonderful at helping get out the word about whatever I'm involved in, and I'm tremendously appreciative of that.
Well, thank you. And he is one of the world's greatest supporters. He supports actors, playwrights, directors, and he does share the information. And on a last kind of note, we need to mention that he is serving as the current chair of the Caramoo Alumni Association. That's the KAA, which is, well, I'll let you explain about it being a group of us.
Right, a group of us who've been involved with Caramoo over the years in one capacity or another. If you've acted in a play, if you've worked backstage at a play, if you've been on staff, if you've been on the board, if you've taught a class at Caramoo, if you've been a member of the photographers or other guilds, that entitles you to join the Caramoo Alumni Association.
And
so,
the association's mission, if you will?
The association's mission, the two primary purposes. The one is to support Caramoo in all its endeavors, and the second one is to provide a good networking opportunity for those who are involved in Caramoo in one way, shape, or fashion.
You got it. So if you want to connect with the Caramoo Alumni Association, find out more about it.
There's a Facebook page, Caramoo Alumni Association.
And a website, I believe.
I don't think the website's not up yet, but we have a Facebook page, and we do have our own email address, but I don't want to give the wrong email address, so let me just give mine, peterlawsonjones@gmail.com. If you fit in any of those categories, reach out to me, and we'll plug you in so that you'll know everything that we're up to.
And I can also offer our Wake Up and Lives Actor Studio email, wakeupandlives with an S @gmail.com, and we will be happy to forward any inquiries to Michael Allen or Peter or whoever in the association who is active.
And the other officers, very quickly, as you mentioned, the president, the vice president is Tanya Broach.
Okay.
The secretary, Sherry Tolliver, and the treasurer is Michael Allen.
Gotcha. So there are folks that you can connect with, and it's very worthwhile and economical to participate in the KAA, Caramoo Alumni Association, which supports Caramoo's ongoing development, performances, presentations, classes, you name it. And we keep waiting for word day by day about the renovation project of the Jelliff Theater, scheduled to begin, I don't know when.
I think, well, they put the roof on.
Okay.
The renovations of Jelliff will be underway within a month or so, with a completion date sometime this fall.
Okay, good enough.
And there's going to be a big community gathering when the Jelliff is opened.
And in the meantime,
when the renovations are
won't the
complete.
opening 2 plays or so be done at another venue, maybe?
Well, I know that the closing play this season is being done at Tri-C East.
Okay.
You can't take it with you.
Yeah, and that'll be in the end of March, May. Yes, April and May. So we want to thank you for tuning in once again with Wake Up and Live with the Arts. And I am still Sue Johnson, your director, your producer, and host. And sometimes Peter has co-hosted with us. Told you, he's ubiquitous. No, that's James's name, description. But Peter is not
I'm omnipresent. He's ubiquitous, I'm omnipresent.
Okay, omnipresent. So thanks again. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, Sue.
Love having
It's always good seeing you.
Okay. Until next time.